How would you feel if you knew every morning when you woke up that you already lived your hardest moment in your life? That's how I get to open my eyes in the morning.
Welcome to Rising to Resilience, the podcast where we explore real stories of authentic struggle, strength, and ultimately hope and transformation. I'm Sharon Hugick, and I am convinced that resilience isn't just about bouncing back and white knuckling it. It's about who we become in the process of going through really hard things. Each week, we'll be exploring conversations with people who have faced devastatingly hard heartbreak, loss, unexpected challenges. Yet, even through that pain, they've discovered new strength, they've found purpose, and somehow even joy on the other side. If you are in the middle of a storm right now, or if you're just looking for hope and encouragement for the journey, this is a really good place. Here, my hope is that you'll find perspective and resources and practical tools, but also give you something to cling to, because hope is what it's all about. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. I am so excited to welcome Vikki Lange to our conversation today. Vikki is out in Idaho and I'm in Virginia, so we're spanning the country to connect. But can you share with us a little bit about who you are today and what lights you up right now?
Sharon, thanks so much for having me here. I'm excited to tell my story and maybe resonate with some other women that may be in my spot. But I I'm very fortunate that I've spent almost the last 20 years working with school districts and help them transform more kids into proficiency, getting them to proficiency with the tools and resources that my company offers. And I've been loving on schools here in Idaho for, I want to say almost 15 years, across the United States for over 20 years. But my base here is in Idaho. I get to cover Montana. Every time I get outside in my territory, it's so beautiful. But what really makes me joyful is that I know I have a direct line into helping kids feeling capable, valued, and heard. And that is my greatest joy every single day when I get up in the morning and realize I get to meet with principals and districts where I get to see kids move along a trajectory where they're feeling more empowered and getting to proficiency in the subjects that we serve with them. And that's why I love to do what I do.
Yeah, it sounds like that has more than just professional meaning for you, that it's personally important. Can you talk more about that?
Yes, because I didn't have that growing up. I had just actually quite the opposite. I had a pretty traumatic childhood, which led me to not being prepared to get out into the world. And I didn't have a voice when I was a child. I was very shy and very withdrawn. And because of that, my journey was a lot harder than than I think it could have been, and it really affected everything. And I'm one of my proudest things is that I raised 2 incredible now adult children who are self-sufficient, learned individuals in this world. And I don't know how that happened, just through the grace of everything. That happened, and they're very strong people in this world right now, and I couldn't be more proud of them. So lots of great things have happened
Yeah.
since my hardest moment of my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Do you find that because you had a complex childhood and you describe it as traumatic, that it gives you insights that other people might not necessarily have?
Absolutely. One of our conversations we had last Christmas, we were all together as a group, and one of my colleagues was like, "So tell me about your Christmases." And I happened to have been sitting around some people that had traumatic Christmases as children. And so we described them to my colleague, and just the look on his face was amazing because his mouth kind of dropped open I think he didn't regret asking us the question, but when you survive some things and you come out the other side and you've had the therapy and you've done all the things and you're a whole person, you can tell a story. And so we asked him, we turned it back on him and said, "So how was your Christmases?" And he's like, "They were nothing like yours." And he described the idyllic Christmases that we all know we wanted, and I just said, "I am so grateful there are children out there that get to have those Christmases," right? I'm so grateful, and we wanna make sure those that are coming behind us have the best Christmases and the best holidays and the most empowered,
Right.
childhoods, and
Yeah.
for those that didn't, knowing that there is a point that you can move yourself out of it,
Hmm.
it's very empowering as an adult.
Yeah. Right. Do you feel comfortable sharing what Christmas would have been like in your household?
Sure. So I come from a childhood where my one of my parents was extremely physically abusive to all of us, and I'm one of 6 children. And we didn't have a lot of money, although my mother did a great job in what she had, but there was a lot of abuse in that household, and so Christmas was not happy. We had a present or 2, which we were grateful for, but they were typically small presents because, again, we didn't have money, and I'm not saying it's about presents, but when you're 7, you don't really understand, right? And we never knew when my dad was gonna explode, so we never knew we'd wake up in the morning and never knew if this was gonna be a day that was going to be, a good day or a day that maybe was not gonna be a good day. And so um we were always just trying to protect ourselves. So that was my Christmases.
Mhm.
Our holidays were really us living in that trauma and not knowing any difference, right? We didn't know difference until I got out of it. And then I realized how that affected my teenage years and my college years and all that time I was still able to go to school. I was still able to get a college degree. I was able to get further college and get a job. It was hard. I fell down a lot, but I still had something in me that I was able to do that. I realize now that that was an empowering side of me that I didn't know I had. That through
Yeah.
trauma, you're still able to maneuver through life and do fairly well.
Where did you find the strength or the resilience to be able to do that? So, and I want to be careful because I know trauma is so personal and the words are not always facile enough or they can be clunky, but you were being abused, creating a lie that this was normal. And I can only imagine that would create a tremendous amount of not just pain, but shame.
Well, it's an interesting question. I don't know if there wasn't shame till later
Hmm.
because that's all we knew.
Okay.
I didn't know any different. And when I would go to my friends' houses and their dad would come in, I would be very shy because you just didn't know what was going to happen. But nobody I didn't know that families weren't like that everywhere I went. And so the shame didn't come till later when I realized that shouldn't have happened. But what gave me strength was my grandparents on the East Coast who've always my grandmother always believed in me, always supported me. Didn't I don't think knew what was going on because we moved away from them when we were very young
Hmm.
and we never talked about it. So, but she always came in as a force of nature with me to tell me that I was good enough and I could do things. And I was so grateful for that. I still am grateful for that feeling and of my grandfather at the same time. So I think that's what helped me too was that I knew there were people that were surrounding me that loved me that told me I could do things that I didn't think I could do.
Right. It must have felt like the brightest shining light of hope that somebody else sees me differently, somebody else important.
Yes, and that I could do something. I was raised in an environment where it was everybody else first and not yourself. And so I was raised to be a people pleaser, if you know that term. And people pleasers, that's a very dangerous place to be when you're young and you don't know that you can have your own mind and your own thoughts. So I just relied on other people thinking they knew better.
And you said that brought you or led you into circumstances that ended up being painful or difficult.
I wasn't released from my own people-pleasing tendency until 2.5 years ago.
Wow.
So I had a lifetime, a lifetime. Yep.
I know that your story probably has so many chapters to it, and I can imagine each one of those chapters has highs and lows. But you've shared that at one point your body was carrying an extra 100 pounds of weight. What was life like for you during that season?
I was spiraling out of control mentally and physically. I was in a lot of pain. My joints were hurting all the time. Mentally, I just couldn't understand why I couldn't control my life when on the other side of things, I was winning awards at work. So on paper, I had everything that I needed. I was doing really well at work. Of course, I had a wonderful family, a wonderful husband, all of that. But mentally and physically, I could not control myself. I
Hmm.
could not understand. And it wasn't until I received some therapy that I realized I was spiraling when I felt out of control.
Hmm.
And the one thing I could control was my work and my career. And that I always did that, especially in any traumatic situation. I could flip a switch and go to work. That was my thing. That's the thing that I do. I flip a switch and go to work. Yes. Yeah, I compartmentalize. And I think I've learned through therapy that a lot of people that have been through trauma will compartmentalize. And that's what
Yeah.
I do.
When did you first recognize that you were using work as an escape like that?
In my 30s, and I'm 60 now, so almost 30 years where I realized no matter what was happening in my personal life, I could flip that switch and go to work. After the divorce of my first husband and all the trauma that went through that, I could still go to work. I think that's what a lot of us do is you can live your life in a compartment and then put the
Yeah.
other one on a shelf. And
Yeah.
the one on the shelf kept poking at me. The one on the shelf was the one I needed to deal with, and I didn't want to because I thought maybe I could handle this with work. I felt out of control is when I felt I could not control my eating habits. But I was exercising, I was lifting weights. I wasn't consistent at it, but I was doing that. I was taking spinning classes. I just could not lose weight. And so 2.5 years ago, I was at my lowest point where I thought, I don't know how I got here. I don't know how to get out of it. And so that was the hardest moment of my life. I needed to ask for help because you never think there's no way you're getting out of this situation. And I was more afraid of what was going to happen if I didn't ask for help than
Hmm.
if I asked for help.
Wow. So you were so discouraged that you just didn't feel like change was possible?
That was the point, right? But then my analytical side took over. See, my emotional side was like, "There's no way you're getting out of this." But my analytical side came over because I work for a data company, and I started researching. And I just got on the internet and researched companies, weight loss companies, and their long-term effects. And I found a company that I thought would be a good fit for me, and I reached out to them, and that was that moment where I felt relief when I reached out to a doctor that could help me. That first step, and it was scary, but I did it anyway
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
found at that moment, I found my value.
Hmm.
And that's when I realized I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm not in this position again.
What does that mean? It was that moment where you found your value.
For me, it means that I was able to become selfish in putting me first because I spent my entire life putting everybody else ahead of me. And I realized that it was taking a toll on me. I get to decide my value in my life, not other people. And unfortunately, with the way that I looked, other people were deciding my value because I was very overweight and I'm like, nope, I don't want to live like this. And so
Right.
when I found my value, I realized I'm going to do everything I can.
Yeah. So take me to that moment where you finally said, like, enough. This isn't who I want to be. I want to do something different. Can you share what was preceding that? Like, what was that moment of of recognition or clarity?
I remember I was in my home. It was at night, and I felt very alone because I couldn't see a way forward. It was scary. It was defeating, and I knew better. My emotional side was telling me, "There's no way you're gonna be able to do this. You are not gonna be able to you're gonna have to spend the rest of your life like this, whatever." And the women in my family live in their 90s.
Mm.
And I thought, "Wow, I'm setting myself up for, the rest of my life of like this. I don't wanna live in pain, physically or mentally. I just don't, and I deserve better." And so that moment for me was, um it's as if the heavens opened up, right? And the sunbeam came down and just went, "Listen, you're valuable and you are loved, so get on with it." And that's exactly what I felt like. I was getting pushed forward, and that's all of a sudden you're getting that nudge in between your shoulder blades, like, "All right, I'll go," and I went.
You said you felt like somebody was saying, "You can do this and you are loved." That seems really significant.
Well, I think if we're all linked together through the energy that's in this world, I just think that there was an energy that just went, "Go. You can do it." And it was something or somebody or
Yeah.
myself telling me,
Yeah.
"You got this,"
Yeah.
right?
Do you have a name for that? Are you a person of faith? Do you have a sense of sort of a higher being?
Well, I like to think it was my grandmother reaching down to give me a poke in my shoulders to say, "Come on, you got this.
Hmm.
You're not alone." I mean, if you wanna talk about spiritual beings, I'll take whatever that was
Yeah.
because I felt it.
Well, it would make sense because the first person that you knew loved you. If I'm understanding correctly, the role your grandmother had in your childhood, that's the voice that told you, "You've got it. You're loved.
Sure.
You're special." And to feel her presence again like that.
And it could have been an inner voice, an inner knowing, whatever it
Mhm.
is. It could have been an angel. I don't know what it
Mhm.
was, but it was
Yeah.
something
It
significant
was
that
enough.
it was enough for me to go, "Okay, I'm in." So that hardest moment of my life was right before I asked for help. Right after I asked for help, it seemed, like there was a plan in place because I was able to get the resources in place to put the plan in place.
So you hit this moment where you looked at yourself and thought, "What have I done? I don't want that future. I don't know how to do this." But you heard a voice saying, "Yes, you are loved. Yes, you are worth it." And in doing that, you called a doctor to ask for help?
Yes, I immediately got online, I researched a few companies and found one that seemed like it was had enough data, 'cause I'm a
Right.
data person,
For your
enough
rational brain to feel
exactly,
safe. Yeah.
to feel safe. That's a great way to say it. I had enough data to arm me to feel safe about reaching out, and I did, and within, like, 2 days, I had a virtual doctor's visit, and
Yeah.
everything just started rolling into place, and that was the beginning of me realizing, "Okay, I'm gonna be on this plan, I'm gonna do what they're gonna tell me to do, and I'm gonna customize it for me and put in my non-negotiables," which is what I do now, and make this a selfish time, not selfish as in no one else mattered, but selfish like I matter too, and I'm putting myself first because I need to get this under control.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy that selfish has a negative connotation, but self-care, we often think of being selfish, but self-care is like respecting our body, respecting the machine that we are to keep it well oiled and to function. And yeah,
This
I
was the
think,
ultimate self-care. It was the
yeah.
ultimate self-care that anyone can do for themselves. And then I got into counseling as well. That was it was key. I had a weight loss coach, I had a program to follow, and I had counseling. And those
Right.
3 things is how I started.
Right. Was that your first experience with any type of counseling or therapy, or had you been doing that before?
It's a great question. I had done marriage counseling, which ended in divorce, so that one didn't work well for me. I did not ever do personal counseling until that time, and I'm so glad that I did, and I'm not gonna say woulda, coulda, shoulda, but golly, that would have been maybe I would have been it would have been earlier or different or whatever, but I'm glad I got it when I did.
Yeah, right. I know. And I think about the strengths that you exhibited through all of those chapters where you were able to find safety or security in work and you knew that you could succeed there and that compartment was stable enough even through divorce or even through parenting and bringing that childhood trauma. And it almost sounds to me like because of that security of that success, you were able to tap into that strength to let that compartment open a little bit.
I think so. I think I overlaid the tools that I used for work into this, because that was the only way that I could have done it, because I needed to shut off my emotional side of it so I could just do the work, and that's what I
Yeah.
did.
But when the emotion of like, I need help, and then your rational brain met that and said, well, I know what to do now. That's really moving. I have this picture of like Vicky the child finally feeling brave enough to say, help. And Vicky the successful businesswoman taking her hand and saying, like, I know how to help you.
That's a great visual. I really like that because I feel that's what happened.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny, I came across a picture of me in kindergarten not too long ago, and one of the
Oh,
things
that
that
must
the
have
it was so it was it's I feel like it's somebody else, right? But
course.
even just me smiling, I had my head down and my eyes up, and I'm smiling because I just was so shy, and the teacher had wrote that, "Vicky is just so shy." All of the notes that the teachers ever wrote were about how shy I was, and I thought, "Wow, if they only knew."
Right. Oh my gosh, it wasn't shy. Right. I mean, that word defined the characteristics, but there was a whole story behind that.
That's right, but you're right, the adult analytical side of me has stepped in to say, "We got this. We're doing this, and we're bringing people with us.
Yeah. I
Done.
mean,
Do it."
boom.
I
Right?
know.
Like, right? And for that child to have the person to help her is what you needed all of those years.
I feel like that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm working now to make that five-year-old proud. Absolutely, and I'm also working now to make sure other five-year-olds can be proud of themselves, because I
Yes.
just feel like all children need to have that voice no matter what they're going through, and that's what also gives me great joy.
Beyond the physical changes. I mean, 100 pounds, it's a whole body. So it's a radical physical change, obviously. But beyond those physical changes, what shifted inside of you as that weight came off?
So, it was so funny because, I was a people pleaser for so long, right? And I was
Right.
a people pleaser when I started this journey.
Hmm.
6 months in is when I realized through a really great counselor that I needed to stop the people pleasing, and so I'm a card carrying member now of I'm not a people pleaser anymore,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah. Can you share with me an example of what you did, what you would have defined as people pleasing that your therapist said that has to end?
gosh, there's gonna be many. There's gonna be many, but let's just do something very simple, something like I home office. I do travel a lot though, but I do have a remote home office and, people eat dinner. So my husband gets home from work and there's an expectation that, eventually I'm gonna make dinner because I
Hmm.
always did. But usually around that time I get in my workout for the day. And so I shifted things and pretty much said, I mean, this is a kind of a basic one, but I'm gonna go work out. So if you're hungry, there's food, and I'm gonna go work out. And I would have never done that before in a relationship because I would feel like, oh my gosh, are you still gonna like me? I'm not doing my job. It's not my job to feed other people in this house. You
Mhm.
feed yourself, but it's
Mhm.
nice if someone makes dinner every now and then, right? So
Mhm.
we had a meeting of the minds when I said, I gotta go work out. That's
Mhm.
most important to me right now. I can eat later. right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it was just a shift. There was
Yeah.
no judgment there. It was just, I would have never done that before. And it sounds kind
Simple.
of simple, but it was hard for me to do because I felt like
Yeah.
let it, I was, I was raised to always make sure I took care of everybody else in the house, not me first. And so that is a radical shift for me. But now it's so easy for me.
Yeah. Is that because that little girl thought it's my job to keep people safe? Like it's my job to keep dad from getting violent or my job to not upset the apple cart?
I was some of that is true. Not upset the apple cart is one of them. And also I was modeling myself after my own mother, who is the one who made dinner every night. And from a father who said that that was part of my responsibility in a marriage.
Right. You had to acknowledge, like, it is not selfish for me to say I'm going to exercise and you as a competent man can fix your own meal. That's not selfish for you to say that.
But if you're a people pleaser, that is selfish to say. So I'm not a people pleaser anymore.
Hmm.
There's food in the house. People know,
Right.
adults know how to eat.
That's the shift. It's like removing that judgment aspect or that value aspect from that.
Because the judgment of other people totally doesn't matter to me anymore.
Wow, what a liberation
Nothing,
that must feel like.
let me tell you, nothing that anyone's going to say to me affects me. If it's negative, say it all you want. It doesn't matter to me because I know that's not the truth. And about 6 months into my weight loss journey, I'd lost about 50 pounds, and it was noticeable. And I was going to a lot of meetings in these districts that I
Yeah.
so lovingly serve, and the comments that I was getting from other women were beyond me. They were
Hmm.
negative. Some were, I mean, most were very good. Let me put it out there. Most were
Okay.
amazing. Most people just wouldn't, if they hadn't seen me in 6 months, it was amazing. And even if they hadn't seen me in a year, that's even more funny. Some of the comments that I hear and see, but some of the negative ones, I couldn't get over it. But because I was no longer a people pleaser, when a woman came up to me in a meeting, I was setting up lunch because they were long data meetings, and nobody else was in the room but her and I. And she came up to me and she goes, "Vicky, you look great, but you're going to have a hard time sustaining it." And she turned around and she walked away. And as she was walking away, I thought, all I said was, "I'll do my best." And that's what I said, because that's the first thing that came out of my mouth was, "I'll do my best." But it didn't matter to me what she said. But 6 months earlier, I would have been devastated. But thanks to my counselor, didn't care,
Wow.
because it's my journey, not hers. And I don't know why she's saying it to me, but it doesn't matter that she said it. It really doesn't. But
Right.
I use it as an example of, there are people out there who don't want you to
Hmm.
succeed for whatever reason. They don't want you to succeed in anything for
Yeah.
whatever reason. And they will
Yeah.
verbalize it to you. And you have to know that's going to happen. If you're in a weight loss journey, it's just going to
Right.
happen.
So as a reformed people pleaser, like what do you do?
Actually, remember the movie Toy Story where all the toy that comes down with the claw
Yeah, yeah,
and picks him up?
yeah.
I
Hmm.
literally visualize a claw that comes down and picks him up and moves them away from me.
That comment. So you
That
have a
comment
visual image of the claw coming in,
and
taking
other
those.
comments that I ever got, you just get the claw comes and just takes you far away from me. So it doesn't even affect me. But I get to visually put in the quarter and do the claw
Yeah.
and get him
Right.
away from me, because they have no business being in my inner circle. And whatever they say is completely, it doesn't matter to me at all.
I love that. So literally that word, those absurd words show up. You recognize their absurdity. And then you visualize placing the quarter in the machine, the hand crinking over atop of those words, picking them
Yep.
up and removing them,
It's a
and
great
then
visual.
dropping them
Drop
off
drop out
far
of my
away.
life, and yet it's fine. It doesn't matter. You're
Yeah.
not affecting me, and I literally took you away from me.
That is so empowering because you're basically deciding what gets real estate in my life. Not, I don't need that. That doesn't serve me. Pick it up, move it away, drop it off, and
100%.
then move on. I love it.
I'm a visual. Thank you. I'm a visual kind of person. So I've done that probably at least 15 times in
Mm-hmm.
the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah. Just recognizing, like, I don't want this. This doesn't serve me. Like,
It's
that would be the hard
powerful
part. You have to practice probably recognizing
because it
to
comes
interrupt it.
fast. Those
Yeah,
moments where
jabs.
someone's the little jabs, it comes really fast. And so I like the same visual because it's super fast for me as well.
Um, as this new Vicky, this new transformed, healthy, whole, physically healthy, emotionally healing, kind of sacred space that you have accepted into this compartment, right? How has your definition of resilience changed? Like, how has that transformation changed your understanding of that?
That's a great question because to me, resilience was always I can bounce back from whatever negative spot I'm in, wherever, whoever put me in a negative spot. Now I don't allow myself to be in a negative spot. There's a big difference there. But my resilience is I don't put myself in negative spots. That's my resilience. And I have non negotiables that I do.
Oh,
So instead of using the word resilience, I now use non negotiables. My non negotiable life for me it revolves around keeping me healthy and those around me healthy as well. And it's been transformative. So resilience for me has been transformative because I've been able to awaken that side of me that I know was told not to speak, as a child. But I'm speaking and it's empowering and there are some people that are asking me to tell my story and I appreciate that, but everyone gets to tell their story and everyone gets to speak and everyone gets to be in that spot. And it's finding that you get to claim your voice.
yeah. Right. Resilience for years would have been, shake it off, move it on, shake it off, move it on. Uh, Going through this transformation, that's such a poetic idea of like, I don't need to be in the place where I have to shake it off. I can choose to stand somewhere else. And
I like that you
that's
said
the
that.
strength, right? That's the rising part of like, I've persevered to the point where I am strong enough to be, I don't have to go to where I get hurt anymore.
Well, and and I like that you just said I don't have to go to where I get hurt anymore because I never felt like I had a choice. I was always getting hurt. But what did I do in what did I do in that world where I always getting hurt, right? But now I'm like I I never should have gotten hurt to begin with. So now I'm in a place where I can't get hurt
Right.
because I won't allow it.
Yeah.
And that's the spot that I'm in now.
Yeah.
And
What does
I,
that feel like to be there? What's the emotion that you would use to describe that?
um well, I have a term that I use. It's called anti-nursing home boot camp. Think about that for a minute. Anti-nursing home boot camp, where everything I think, say, or do hopefully will keep me out of a nursing home later on in my life when I'm in my 90s. But even thinking about what do I need to do now at my age to be vibrant and healthy? That's how I think now. It has elevated my life to where I want more women to come and join me, right? And I have women that reach out to me all the time on my social media to say, "What did you do? How are you doing? What are you eating? What was the program?" All those things. And so I've decided to build a community online of women just like me who are wanting something better for themselves. And that's what I call anti-nursing home boot camp.
I love that. I hear it in your voice. I see it in your countenance. This like joy that you've found this healthy place after such a long season of looking and healing. And now it's like, I want everybody to feel this same kind of miracle of wholeness, of love, of self care, because you know how powerful it is. Is that Is that a good way to describe what you feel like your mission is?
Exactly. I feel, well, here's the thing. How would you feel if you knew every morning when you woke up that you already lived your hardest moment in your life? That's how I get to open my eyes in the morning. What are you going to do? I already lived my hardest moment. There's nothing that I can't accomplish. There's nothing I can't do. There's nothing that I can't get joy in from this day, no matter what the day is, because I already
Right.
lived my hardest moment and it's way behind me. So guess what? I'm here for the abundance. So let's bring it on. And I just want people to know that the even if you think you're in your hardest spot, there's always another place to go. And once you're there and you realize, I did this, you feel capable, valued, and heard, which is
Yeah.
exactly what I try to do in my work with children
Hmm?
in schools. I
Yeah.
want all kids to have a voice. Either you're claiming your voice as a kiddo or you're claiming your voice as an older person, but that voice is still there in you.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a community of over 6,000 women on Instagram who are rallying around this idea. For the woman who is literally at that moment where they're recognizing, like, I have this life that I have to decide if this is where I grow old or I change. What small practical step could they take today to move towards that hope?
I think the first thing is to recognize that you are valuable. And when you realize that you are valuable to yourself, we're not talking about anybody else. You're valuable to yourself. You're worth the effort now to to reach out and ask for help. Whatever help that is. Whether it's a trusted family member or it's your doctor or it's someone you have coffee with or a business partner or whatever it is. There's so many people in the same circumstance who feel like failures, who who are not. They just haven't found the right combination of things.
Right. If you could go back 2.5 years ago and tell Vicky on that day, and you could speak to her, but she hasn't started her health journey yet, what would you want her to know?
That on the other side, the colors are brighter. You have clarity of thought and you are really, really happy. Even by yourself, you're really happy. There's this achievement. It's not about the weight loss. What you're seeing, what happened to me was I was able to go inside my brain and rewire the way that I thought of myself from how I was raised. And that is, you're seeing an outward expression of me rewiring my brain. And that's what I did. So it's not about the weight loss. That's just what happened after I was able to find value in myself and not value from what other people thought of me. And that right there is I wish I could tell myself that of stop worrying about what other people think about you. Because in the end, it doesn't matter. It's what you think about yourself
Hmm.
that's going to change your life. At least for me, it did.
Yeah, that's so powerful. You must have the biggest sense of like self satisfaction. Like, I did a really hard thing.
Guess what, Sharon? I did a really hard thing. And I know why people ask me, what do you eat? What's your exercise routine? That is just an outward sign of things. It's the inside stuff that I did. It was the doctor that believed in me. It was the coach, my weight loss coaches, but my personal
Yeah.
counselor. But
Yeah.
more importantly, it was my grandmother who put that in me for the rest of my life to know, no matter what happens, I can do this. I can do hard things. I did hard things. I am doing hard things. And it's okay. There's joy in all of that.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. Like, I hope that your grandma knows how powerful her impact is on you, and to know that her love gave you that courage in that moment when you needed it, that divine spark. of I'm going to love me. I'm going to give myself permission to care about me now. And that is, I hope in the cosmos she's smiling and feeling
Absolutely.
all that.
I'm
It's
sure
really
she is.
special. If somebody's listening to this today and craving, and I think that's a really good word because I know it's food, but it's also just like there's something in you aching to feel what Vikki's been able to feel. I encourage you, we'll have the links in the show notes, both to her Instagram, but also you're doing some public speaking now to share your story with other women, to give them the tools to feel empowerment, to take that risk. And if you have a community of women where Vikki's story would resonate with them, you can find that on her website as well. But I really hope that even if the most brave thing that they could do right now is to reach out to you and send you a message through Instagram, or to just say like, I want that, I deserve that joy is possible, and I'm ready to reach out and grab it. I think your work has such an impact, and it could really be transformative for people. So
That's so nice. Thank you so much. You can tell I'm not excited at all about talking about this, right? But I know the pain point, and I know the next step. I have empathy for that, and so I'm happy for anyone to reach out.
I think that's the whole point of these conversations that we're having. You went through incredibly hard, challenging, life-defining storms, yet it is so beautiful to see the woman you are today. I think for everybody who's in the thick of it right now, we cling to this hope that it's going to have purpose. It's going to mean something. I'm going to grow and be stronger because of it. And your story certainly offers that to everybody. And it's just a beautiful thing to hear, despite all that pain, despite all of those years of having to work so hard, it all comes together in this opportunity for you now. Such unexpected joy. And it radiates out of you. It's really inspiring.
Thank you. I'm having the time of my life.
If you're interested in connecting with Vikki, I have added her Instagram account to the show notes along with her website address. I invite you to subscribe or leave a review. But probably even more importantly, if you found this inspiring or moving, share this with a friend who you know could use the encouragement today. And if you have a story that you think would be a good fit, I invite you to reach out to me. You can find me on email, sharon@sharonhujic.com, and I'll be glad to send you an application.